Hello, music students. Today for our theory lesson, we are looking at 3/8 and 6/8 time signatures. Earlier this week, we talked about time signatures in general and reviewed that the top number tells us how many beats are in each measure, and the bottom number tells us what type of note receives the beat. So that meant that like 4/4 is 4 beats in each measure and the quarter note gets the beat. So really you could fit 4 quarter notes in every measure. 3/4 was 3 quarter note beats in every measure. Okay, so today if we're looking at ones that have an 8 on the bottom, that means that the 8th note is going to get the beat. So in 3/8 time signature, you could fit 3/8 notes in every measure. Remember, an 8th note by itself looks like a quarter note with a flag. An 8th rest kind of looks like a 7. And we can also beam the 8th notes together. So let's look at a few examples here. In the first one, we have 3 8th notes beamed together in the first measure. And then in the second measure, you've got a single 8th note, 8th rest, single 8th note. So the timing works out for all of those. Okay, if I was tapping that rhythm, it would go 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Hopefully you can hear my tapping. In the second one, having that quarter note gets the first 2 beats, because remember you can fit 2 8th notes into 1 quarter note. So right here, we've got the quarter note filling 1, 2. Okay, if I was tapping that rhythm, it would go like this: 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. All right, so that quarter rest also got those 2 beats. Good. Now the last one is if you want something to last for the whole measure. We're going to use a dotted quarter note, because remember, a dotted quarter note usually would be like a beat and a half, but you can fit 3/8 notes into that. So the dotted quarter note gets all 3 beats. And just like in the past we learned a whole rest gets the whole measure, we're still going to use a whole rest for that. So in this case, I'm tapping 1, 2, 3, rest, 2, 3. Okay? Now in 6/8 time, again, we have an 8 on the bottom, so the 8th note still gets the beat, but the 6 on the top means we can fit 6 8th notes into the beat. It's all basically the same as what we just saw for 3/8, but also I want to point out this right here. We, in this case, can use a dotted half note, and that's going to get the full measure. If you would figure that out, you can fit 6 8th notes into a dotted half note. So that would get the entire measure, and again, a whole rest could also get the whole measure. So a few examples here. First one, tapping that, it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The second one, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And the last one, remember the dotted quarter note gets 3 beats, that dotted quarter rest gets 3 beats. This one gets all 6, and that one gets all 6. So I'd have 1, 2, 3, rest, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, rest, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right, so that's how 3/8 and 6/8 works. It's just that instead of the quarter note getting the beat, now the 8th note gets the beat. I hope that all makes sense. For your exercises, and perhaps you want to pause the video at this point and go complete your exercises, here's what we're doing. In these first couple examples, you're going to circle the measures with the incorrect number of beats. So it might help to write in the counting, but you don't have to. So that's 1, 2, 3. That's good. Next measure, 1, 2, 3. A quarter rest would get 2 beats in this case, right? It can fit 2 8th notes. So I would circle that measure because that's the wrong number of beats. Okay? And then in letter B, we have to have 6 beats per measure. So that's 6 eighth notes, right? 1, 2, 3. Now in a dotted half note, I can fit 6. So I already know that this is going to be more. That's going to be 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 beats. No, that one's wrong. Too many beats. All right. In number 2, you're going to complete the measures using 1 note or 1 rest. Write the beats underneath, and then you don't need to worry about this part, counting and clapping. Ignore that, unless you want to try it out. Okay? Can't see here because I drew over my instructions. They tell you what you're going to use, a note or a rest. So in this case, that's beat 1, beat 2, so I'm just missing beat 3, and you do need to write the beats. Write the beats. So you do have to do that in this one. The next one, I've got a quarter note, so that gets 2 eighth notes, and a rest. I need to fill beat 3 with a rest. Okay, you can do the other ones there. In letter B, I've got, so that was 3 beats. This is 6 beats per measure. So I'm missing 4, 5, 6. I would use a dotted quarter note to fill that. Okay? So again, maybe you want to hit pause right now and complete those before you move on. All right. Now lesson 44, the second half of what we're looking at, is still with these same time signatures, 3/8 and 6/8, but sometimes when we're going fast, it's easier to actually to group it into smaller, or I should say actually bigger chunks. Ignore this because we didn't talk about that. So here's how it works. If I'm going to count, if I'm going to do this quickly, I would use 3 eighth notes per beat. So if I wanted a fast 3/8, instead of having to think 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, I'm going to subdivide that and give it one strong beat, even if I may be tapping on the in-between beats, kind of like how eighth notes usually work in 4/4 time signature. All right, so I like to count those as 1 and a. That helps me. All right. Again, here we're just kind of grouping them into threes. So here's another way you could show a whole beat. 1, the and is part of it, and then there's the a. Or in this last one, that gets all 3 parts. You wouldn't need to put in the counting. I'm just doing that in case it helps you. Now in 6/8, again, they show you this, but everything gets divided. If you're still dividing it into the groups of 3 eighth notes, we now have 2 strong beats per measure, right here and right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So instead of having to count all of those really fast, I think 1, 2, 1, 2, da 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 da. And we might even go faster than that. Again, I like to think 1 and a, 2 and a. But that's totally up to you if you want to include that or not. I just think it helps to split up the beats that way. In this one, my strong beat happens there and there. 1, 2, 1, 2. Actually, I played that wrong. Let me tap this rhythm. 1, a 2, a 1, 2. Okay, and here's the last one. So I'm going to play on this strong beat, rest on that strong beat. Play here and hold for the whole thing, and then I rest. So it's 1, 2, 1, 2, rest, 2. Okay, so this is just for if we're doing this in like a fast one, but again, everything's still kind of getting grouped into those 3 eighth notes, really. With your exercises, in this one, you're going to write the strong beats below the notes. So in letter A, you're only writing 1 beat per measure. And they gave you the first measure, 1. 1. You get the idea. You're just putting a 1 on the first part of every measure. In part B, you need to put 2 beats. They give you the first measure, you're putting 1, 2. In the second measure, that's 1, 2. Okay, if you were thinking splitting it into groups of 3, that's how it gets split. In number 2 down here, write the correct time signature and the strong beats below the notes in a fast tempo. So how would I figure out how many, or what my time signature is? Well, I'm going to look at the first measure, and I already know it's going to be something with an 8 on the bottom, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 beats in the measure. So I gave you the first part of that. And then you're writing the strong beats below. So that's going to be 1, 2, 1, 4. But, pardon my counting there. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, rest. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, rest, rest. 1, 2, 1, 2. So I just played the whole thing out. It's basically like what you did in number 1. It's just you needed to figure out the time signature, which I did for you. If you have any questions on how this works, please let me know. I think sometimes this is easier to do in person because it's easier to kind of practice the rhythms together. But I hope it makes sense. If you're still confused after you've watched this, please set up a meeting with me and I will clarify for you.